Hi guys, my name is Alexander Laguna. Welcome to this effect. So, in today's effect, I'm going to be showing you one of my most devious Propless mentalism things I tend to perform. First case scenarios, this effect really is something that I tend to really do most often when I'm doing street work. Not really meant for stage, but I really tend to do this more on street work because it's much more convenient for me to do this. Obviously how this effect looks like, it really is some sort of like a mechanics propless thing. Obviously in this effect really is a divination on a number, but it could be leading to different type of divinations. So the one thing you're going to be doing of how this effect looks like is that you have nothing with your hands, and now you have a spectator next to you, and from this moment and notice is that you can be handing in your hand like this, and you can tell him or her to please stare at your hand with nothing on it. And from here, I want them to fully visualize a number right in my hand like this. And the moment when they visualize one number in my hand with nothing written or nothing written on my other hand, they can visually see a number. And from here, I will tell you to please keep your eyes closed. And from pretty much based on the track, what I'm going to be doing is that I can now divine their dolph number, I can divine a dolph animal, and also I can divine some sort of a any type of things I can really divine on any type of aspect. So in this principle that we're going to be utilizing, it is a very not a well-known principle, but it is something I tend to use most often, which is dual reality. So if you're not fully aware what dual reality is a two reality aspect of it. So let's just say, imagine I was performing a card trick to a spectator, and I have an audience member. I have a bunch of audience members looking at me, but I'm performing next to the spectator, and I'm performing the card trick to her or him, only pretty much close up to me, and they can see one card from the deck, or they pick one card from the deck, and from here that's their reality. And I do a trick for them that really represents themselves. So imagine I was like, pick a card, memorize it, place it back to the deck, and I will divine your card, and boom, I divine it. But that was only one specific trick, only for that specific spectator. But basically, there was another trick going on at the same time, only meant for the audience perspective. So it really sounds a little bit more weird in that aspect, but it really is how it is. So if I was performing a typical cups and balls for this specific person, and they're fully experiencing my trick, but only based on their point of view, but the point of view of the audience members, they're seeing my exact same routine, but differently. So there's going to be two reactions going on from here. And in that case, it's going on two realities, which means that there's two tricks going on at the same time. But for this purpose of this effect that we're going to be using in utilizing the dual reality principle, it is using a principle that I love to perform most often. And the best part is that you don't really need any type of writing utensils or props with you. So the only thing you must have in hand, which is typical, which is a gag, is your hand. And that really is it. But it's also based on your script. So I'm going to be showing you a very basic aspect of this effect as of right now. So how this effect looks like in the point of view is that you have your spectator next to you, and you have the audience members seeing your performance. So I just introduce myself, and then from here I will do my effect. So the only thing I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be showing him or her my hand, and from here they're going to be visually see my hand. I want you to clearly see my hand like this, and I want you to envision one number from here. There's nothing in my hand, but I want you to fully envision one number. And now, the moment when you have a number in your mind, I want you to fully close your eyes. And now, and from here, which is all clean, they have a number in their mind, and this number is not going to be told by you, and it's not going to be told by the audience members. So that specific number will be on her or his head. So from here, I have different ways how I reveal this specific number. So to start, I can reveal their dolph number, I can reveal a color, and also I can reveal let's just say an animal, for instance. So I want you to fully close your eyes. I want you to fully envision your number. I want you to think of that number, but also I want you to think of an animal that starts with this number. And let's just say, think of a color that represents this number as best as possible. So from here, they're going to be doing that all in their mind, which is very easy. So it's not too mental gymnastics of it. So the moment when they have those three things in their mind, now I'll tell you, please open your eyes. And now it's up to you to really reveal it as best as you can. So I will just say you were thinking of 3, and I got in mind that you were thinking of a cat, and you were thinking of, let's just say, the color purple, for instance. And from here, they're going to be fully amazed that you can clearly divine that those 3 things right in the flow like this. So it didn't took at least a minute. It just took about, let's just say, 30 seconds. And from that really is the effect. And it looks super clean as it is, and it does works well. But from here, I'm going to be showing you the method of how it is. And take note that it will take practice in your part, but not only on the mechanics, but also on the script as it is. So I'm going to be showing you the basic handling, what you're going to be doing. So based on the things you must know is that the only thing you're going to be utilizing is your hands and also the script. But let's just focus most only on the hands right now. So the only thing that really is important is utilizing a pretty much like a pointing aspect or pointing force. So the thing you must know is that many of us have these type of lines on our hands, like those tiny wrinkles or tiny like this. But if you're fully aware, we always have those bold dark lines from here. Not many of us have them as bold like this, but it really is pretty much a tiny aspect that you must know. So only for people who have this type of pattern or those really thick lines, which is, you can clearly see it as best as possible, that really utilizing the aspect of the trick. So the first thing you must know is that the moment when I'm going to give or just tell the spectator, please look at my hand, the first thing I'm going to be doing, and based on the script, is that I'm going to be pointing each one of these 3 lines. Most cases people have 2, but it's always going to be 3. So I'll point at the first one, second one, and the third one. And this is utilizing the cover from here. So the point of view of the audience, they're not going to be seeing what I'm doing from here behind the scenes, but the spectator will well see it. So the only thing that the audience members are seeing is just this. But in the point of view of the spectators, they're going to be seeing this. So I'm going to be pointing these 3 lines, and based on the script, I'm going to be telling them to please, I want you to really keep mind of one number in your mind. So it could be here, here, and here. So from here, I just mentally tell them to please, I want you to count that number of times and just keep that number in your mind. So just see how many there are, and now just keep it in your mind like this. So the moment when I'm doing this, they can clearly see that there are like 3 lines right here. And the best part is that the way how it looks like, if there's like 3 lines like this, it just looks like 3 scars. So that really is the play of the duality. So I mentioned them to please, I want you to see my hand, and I want you to fully just see these 3 right here. Well, I do not say 3, but I want you to fully see these, and I want you to fully mentally count how many there are in here. So you can clearly see a number right here. And this is the moment when I do the thumb like this. So I just use the solo movement to really point these 3 lines. In most cases, if you have, for some reason that the lines are not visible, you can just clearly just utilize other parts of your hand just on your fingers, like these type of edges like this, or on the lines like the thick lines. But you can really utilize whatever. So if it's 1, just make note that please just look to my hand, and I want you to mentally count how many they are, and now that's going to be your number. So that really is how pretty much the basic handling of what the dual reality works. Although it may seem a little bit bold for you to perform, but it does works well on the way how you would perform this. So you show them your hand, you point those 3 lines, just tell them to please mentally count them, and now you're going to be having that number in your mind. And now the moment when you have your number in your mind, I want you to close your eyes, and that'll be it. So that really is using one aspect of what you should do. So it's not as hard as it is. It just takes time to really get used to the fact to really do this thing, which is not as hard, but just take note that you must mention that please mentally count these. I do not mention lines during the performance. I just mention please mentally count these, but in a very whispered voice. So for the spectator to know what I'm really saying, just mentally count these and just keep it in your head. So the moment when they see me doing this, they will take note that it's going to be 3, 2, or 1, or etc. And now from here, they have one number in mind, and now that number is fully aware to you for now. So the one thing you must know is that when you're performing this on stage or for whatever reason, you're doing this, and the point of view is that you're moving your thumb, but also try to not make it look too obvious that you're pretty much showing it. So try to make it subtle movement, so try to not make too much of the movement, but try to get it as quickly as possible. So the moment when you're finished, you can just have your hands free, and now you can really to begin with the next step for the trick. So one thing just to note is that once you're doing this, it really depends on who you're performing with. So if you're performing for a tall person or a short person, it's always better to really adjust how you want to do this. So because if you're doing this for sure, a short person or a tall person, try to really get the right angle for you to really not expose your thumb, making these secret movements that you should do. So that's one thing you must master. So if you have a friend with you who is short or tall, just always try to adjust how you want to do this. If it's short, then there's a possibility you would move your hand like this, but it's also better for you to really practice to not expose your movements on your hand like this. If it's a tall person, then it's always better just to do your as best as ability to not really make big of an adjustment on your movements. So that's one thing you must master. So if the person is at the same height as you, then there's not going to be any problem doing this. But of course, it really plays big on how well you want to play with this effect. So now I'm going to be showing you one of the other aspects you're going to be utilizing this specific tool to make it much more broad and also make it more into a mind reading routine. So the moment when they have a number in mind and they have their eyes closed, the one thing you must mention is that please, I want you to fully keep this mind in your head, but do not mention the number out loud and do not mention the number to the audience. So from here, you're going to be doing some sort of like a broad roadmap utilizing this number. So the moment when I tell you to please memorize your number and try to keep the number in mind, just make it look simple as a word right in front of you. And you know what? I want you to fully see the first letter of that word, and I want you to fully think of an animal that starts with this letter. So let's go with the aspect on defining an animal. So imagine that we're thinking of the number 3, and I know it's going to be the number 3 because of how I did the move. They're going to be thinking of 3 as the word, as I mentioned, and I want you to fully focus on the first letter of that word. So it's always going to be 3, which starts with the letter T. And now when I mention, please think of a simple animal that starts with this letter, most 100% or 90% chance they're always going to be thinking of tiger, or it could be a turtle. But in most cases, if I feel a little bit more, if I really want them to really go for that specific animal, I'll just tell them to please, I want you to think of a very dangerous animal that starts with this letter. In most cases, it's always going to lead to tiger because it's pretty much the most dangerous animal from there. But if you want to force turtle in that case, you can just tell them, please, I want you to think of let's just say a small animal that starts with this letter. That's one way you can do it. Let's just say, imagine, I want you to think of this animal, but I want you to think of it like a specific color in mind. So think of your animal, but try to think of the colors that contains this animal. So we both know that the tiger has, pretty much for the broad public, many people would think of tiger like orange, yellow, and black. Those are pretty much the 3 basic colors they would think of. From here, you can really just tell them to please, I want you to just think of one of those colors in mind and just keep it with you right now. Most cases from here, people will tend to think of the pretty much tiger with orange or some sort of like an orange yellow. So that's one way I can really know. Let's just say if I wanted to fully think of a random specific number. So I want you to think of your number, and from here I want you to utilize this number, and I want you to double it in your mind. Do not tell me, and do not tell it to the audience. So from here, they're going to be doing this mental math in their head. They're going to be thinking of 3 times 2, which is doubling the number, and it's going to be leading to 6. Or they're going to be just thinking of 3 plus 3, 6. And from here, I can just really do whatever I want to, utilizing the number 6 in a form of a prediction or a handwritten prediction somewhere around the stage if I'm performing. Let's just say if I was performing, let's just say if I have a written prediction on my hand, let's just say this, like imagine I show you a number in my hand, but there was nothing written. You can really have some sort of like a Swami gimmick or a nail writer gimmick, and you can just really take the time, perform your showmanship or your performance, and from here you can just really secretly write down the number 6 on your hand to make it look as appear that it'll appear on your hand out of nowhere. And the point of view of the spectator who has seen the counting thing on your hand, they're going to be fully surprised that they never seen a 6 on your hand before. So that's one thing you can really utilize this. One thing that I tend to do most often is that I tell them to please, I want you to think of a random name on this number. So imagine they were thinking of number 3 or 2. It will works best on 2 and 3, but most cases always on 3. So I tell them to please mentally vision your number as a word, like THREE or etc. They're going to be visually vision that word as it is. And I want you to think of a simple male name that starts with this letter. So obviously they're going to be thinking of the letter T, and the only male name that starts with that letter that is very basic could be Tom, Tim, or Ted. And that really is one of those 3 names you can really do. So one fun way I tend to do this is that I can just mentally tell them to please, I want you to envision this name, and I want you just to fully think of whatever it is. So imagine, oh wait, there's an E on it, and if they say no E, then it could be either Tom or Tim. And then when I mention, oh wait, in that case, wait, it wasn't an E, I see an I on it, of course. And if they say no to I, then I will know this can be Tom. So it's always like the process of elimination. That's one way I tend to do most often when I'm performing this. It's not as hard, but in most cases I tend to perform this more like under 30 seconds. I do not want to go overboard with a 2-minute effect. I just really want to get this over with using a 30-second play. So the moment when they visualize the number, I can just instantly just tell them to please, I want you to take your number, double it, and just keep that number in mind. And in fact, I want you to utilize that same number, vision it as a word, and I want you to think of a male name that starts with this letter or an animal that starts with this letter. And that's how it works as it is. It doesn't have to be as complicated as it is. It just feels much more fair and much more natural when you're performing this. One other way or one other idea I want to share with you is that you can actually use this as a prediction effect. So imagine you have a sealed envelope on your wallet, and you can do the same effect doing the same thing. Like, I want you to take your number and think of a random animal or something else. You can really just have this on your wallet, and you can just have it written something right here, for example, like elephant or etc. And then that could be one souvenir you want to take. So imagine this is your business card. So this is one of my business cards, and this is one way you can give out your own business cards for a specific spectator who you want them to book with you. That's really is one of the things I tend to use this tool most often, but it's not as hard as it is. And most cases I try to do much more things utilizing this tool because it's much more convenient for me instead of bringing up a peak wallet or a impression pad or something. I always wanted something that has to be much more easier than bringing the whole system with me, and I wanted to create something that looks much more realistic than the typical please write down something and then I do a pretty much a center tear or a peak or something. I wanted to create this much more natural form. Like I want you to just envision a number in my hand and that's it, because it's much more easier and much more natural and much more convenient than just bringing up a whole pad or your own wallet and the pen and etc. Bringing up a bunch of props and then just do the same thing and just do the trick as it is, which is not bad. But if you really want to do this right away with no props with you, if you forgot them for some reason, you have this tool with you as whatever you want to, because it's your own hand. And the best thing is that you can really utilize this tool for any type of language. So if you speak Spanish or French, then you can really utilize this thing, because we all have a hand and we all have some sort of like a aspects on their hand to really divine what number they can really see. So it's not as hard, but you're not only limited by your hand, you can really just utilize some sort of aspects of your hand and just tell them to please mentally count and just keep a number on your mind for hold. So that's one thing you can really utilize this. There's many other ideas you can really do with utilizing this thing, but there's really are many of them to really just explain, because it would take more like an hour to explain. But as best as possible, try to utilize this tool as best as possible for stage work as best. You can really perform this mostly around when you're doing this surrounded if you want to. You can really do this surrounded, but it's a little bit risk taking, because you have to really cover a little bit of your secret thing or secret count like that, but it's not as hard in most cases. So that's really one of my best ideas I want to share with you right now. So just let me know if you have any more questions about this trick, or you have any thoughts about things that you want to share with me, or things that might have missed. But either way, at the end of the video, I'm going to be showing my Instagram account, and you're freely free to DM me about any type of questions you have in mind about utilizing this tool. It's not as hard, so if you really want to perform this trick, it's not as hard as it is, because it just doesn't take a lot of work. And the best part is that you can really expand this to other things out there that you have with you. So I really hope you guys like this effect, and I'll see you guys next time.